Good afternoon, Stephan. Thank you very much for speaking with us. So perhaps if we could start with a short introduction just to yourself and Boehringer Ingelheim, and yes, tell us exactly how you fit in.
So I'm responsible for supply chain management as a corporate VP, and that role includes, which is quite unique, I think, from our perspective at least, includes a sort of key account management function that deals with our internal business partners. So our key accounts are not external customers who usually pay us for product. These are the internal corporate heads of marketing and sales in order to be able to serve them and their requirements better.
So how has that changed your approach to supply chain strategy?
It gives us first-hand and much sooner in the whole process input to what we need to adapt to. So as I believe I said, serve as sort of one face to the customer, our business partners exactly know who to call and what to discuss with us, and then we'll make sure that their needs are addressed appropriately and promptly and most efficiently.
This actually sounds very similar to what a lot of people are saying about the changing nature of the supply chain function, but at an almost extreme level. It sounds like you're very much an influencer within the company. So how has that come about, and how are you enabling supply chain to really help mold the business?
You know, I think in the last 10 or 12 years since I'm with the company, we have built a very strong supply chain community based on what we believe needs to be done from an operations perspective. So we came up with a strong supply network. We have a good collaboration between our business operative units and the production sites, and have good rules, roles and responsibilities. What I think needs to be taken in order to get the supply chain to the sort of next level is really this immediate and fast and prompt input from our strategic business partners, and that is why this key account management element helps us a lot to bring that knowledge into our supply chain and drive the right topics and the right themes.
Now, I know you take a segmentation strategy in your supply chain, but what was your approach to developing that strategy and really getting the segments right?
It's work in progress. I have to be fair. We did from the get-go a cross-functional approach. It's not that there was, again, the operations team that came up with ideas and plans and proposals, and I don't know what. It was from the beginning an interactive discussion with business partners, with controlling, with the countries, with supply chain people, with operations people, to find the right setting.
Now, amongst everything from the economic crisis through to environmental catastrophes that have been over the last couple of years, mitigating risk has never been more important. What approach and what changes have you made in order to mitigate risk within your supply chain?
I think what also helps us here is the segmentation approach, because we'll come up with the conclusion, I think, that for some of those segments we will have limited contingency plans, risk mitigation plans in place, but for others that are really crucial for the patient and for us as a company, we will have probably more relevant and also more expensive and more sophisticated contingency plans in place, which could be, you know, we set up a second supplier, we set up a second manufacturing site to supply those regions, or conceptually to be able to supply those regions. And for some of the segments, we'll even get to a point which we would call active contingency, that we don't have plans ready to be used and to be executed, but we have those contingency sites really set up and to supply, in addition to the regular, the sort of first manufacturing site, to supply those markets in parallel, so they are really ready when they are needed. There's no setup time that's then needed.
Well, if you're right in the middle of this development, what are the challenges you're coming up against?
It's the complexity. It's since our network has become global, like in most of the companies, a contingency plan will never be executed on a local or regional basis, on a global basis. So it makes the whole topic very complex. So that has to do with data availability and transparency. Also has to do with a unique and standardized set of master data, and master data is really a big topic, so that you have the possibility even to get the transparency that you needed. So you have to talk about the same SKUs, the same product IDs and things like that, the same formulations around the world. And that's one of the biggest challenges to come up with a unique set of those master data.
Now, obviously, you can't talk about global without talking about the emerging markets, which has been a huge discussion to many, many people. How big of a difference is there dealing with supply chains within the emerging markets as there is to European and the more traditional markets?
I think it depends on the country. I think mature markets, at least according to our definition of mature versus emerging markets, which might be different in other companies. The mature markets have a more similar distribution setup, customer base, etc. While what we find in emerging markets, there have to be different approaches depending on the countries where we go. And here we have to understand the local environment and the specifics. And probably for the bigger countries at least, we'll have to come up with country-specific solutions rather than here's the emerging markets distribution strategy or supply strategy. It might be very diverse.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us, but unfortunately we are all out of time for now, so I'm very much looking forward to hearing more from you at Logi Pharma.
Thank you.